Okay, so R allows you to write your own functions, which is really useful. So let's learn how to do that. So the general statement of it is like this, but let's look at a specific example because it's easier to see. So he gives you this example, but this is too complicated. So let's start with an easier one. So let's start with this one. So here, I'm making a function called, so how do you make a function? So first of all, you have to decide what the name is. So I decided to call it add divide. So then you write the name, and then you write equals, and then you have to tell R that this is going to be a function, not like some variable, some other kind of variable. So you have to say function, and then you have to say how many arguments you want this function to take. So I decided I want to have 2, and then you give what the calculation should be based on these two variables, these two arguments. So I wanted to, suppose I wanted to like add them and then divide by their product. So then I would say I want to add them and then divide by their product. And that's what I have here. And that's all you need to do to create this add divide function. So if you want to try it, you could try add divide. Let's see, what number should I use? So suppose I tried add divide 5, 5. So what should I get back? So it means you're supposed to take 5 plus 5, which gives you 10, and take 5 times 5, which gives you 25. So you have 10 over 25, which is whatever. Let's see what we get, which is 0.4. Okay, and if you don't believe it, you can check 5 plus 5 divided by 5 times 5. And we hopefully will get the same thing. Okay, so this is how you can define a function. So very simple. All you need to do is decide on the function name. Then you have to say that it's equal to a function. You have to tell how many arguments it's going to need, and then tell how to do the calculation. That is, say what to do with these arguments. Okay, so that's how you create a function. Now, sometimes the function is not so simple as this, and you need more than one line to explain it. So then you have to do a special notation so that R doesn't get confused, and it knows that all the lines are part of the function definition. So let's try an example of that. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So here I'm doing the same kind of thing. I'm deciding on a name. So I'm calling this function add percent, and then I'm saying it's equal to a function, and this one only takes one argument. And then because I need more than one line to explain what this function is going to do, I put the curly bracket here, and at the end of the definition of the function I close it with another curly bracket, and then inside those curly brackets is the definition of what I want to happen. Basically what I want to happen to x. So let's try this function out first before we figure out how it works. So here I tried it on 0.88, and I get back 88%. So it just reformats 0.88 into this other format, 88%. Okay, so that's all it's going to do. So how does it work? So it uses this round function inside, and let's just see how that works in case we don't remember. Sorry. So what if I apply this round to 0.88? So I'm not just using round, I'm doing round of 0.88 times 100. So that's and then it's going to give just one digit. So let's see how that works. So it gives us 0.88 like that. It gives us 88 like that. Now suppose I had a slightly different example. Suppose I had 5 like that. What's it going to do? Okay, so it's going to round it to one digit. Okay, first it's going to multiply by 100, and then it's going to round the result to one digit. So that's what this line does. And then it takes the result of that, whatever you got, so in this case I would have gotten this, and it stores it in a variable, local variable, called percent. Okay, and then, so let's do that too. let's store the result in percent. And then let's see what this does. This is the paste function. I think we've seen this function. It just puts all this together, basically like concatenates all of this together. And that we can put in a separator, but here there's separator is nothing. So it's just going to paste this together with this as strings. But let's just see it happen. So there, I just copied it here, and I put it into result. So let's see what result looks like. So it looks like that, okay? Which is actually what we want the final result to look like anyway. But anyway, we've stored it in here. Now finally, the last line of a function definition, you should say what you want to return. In other words, what, after the person runs the function, what they should see. So what I want them to see is the 88.5. In other words, I want them to see the result. In other words, I want to return this result. So that's what I put in here, return this result. Now you can there are other ways you can do this. Instead of, you don't even have to use return. You can just put result, and you don't have to write return, and it will return that result. But it's a little safer to write return. But whatever you put in the very last line of the definition of the function is what will be returned, even if it doesn't have the word return written around it like this. Now in the first example, we didn't need a, well, in the first example, this is the last thing in the function definition, because this is the only thing in the function definition, and so this is what was returned. So we didn't need to use the word return in that case, but we could have written return this, but we didn't need to. Okay, so now, as we saw, let's try this example again. Let's try this, and we should get the same thing. Okay, so this is how you can define a function. So here's a slightly more complicated example than this one was. So again, you just have the name, and then you say that this is equal to a function, and you have to say how many variables you're going to, or how many inputs it's going to take, or how many arguments it's going to take. Here it's taking 2, here it's taking 1. Then if you're going to have more than one line, you should package that with these curly brackets, and then you can start to write the definition. And remember that when you do that, these variables, percent and result, which are defined inside this function, are called local variables, so that if I tried to type percent, it wouldn't know what it was. Now I already, over here I defined percent outside of the function, so of course it's going to know what it is. But in general, any variable that you give value to here or create inside the function only exists inside the function. Okay? And don't forget that you have to return the result, or just write whatever you want in the last line of the definition of the function. But it's better to write return. It's a little bit clearer. Okay, so we will now look at his comments and his function after having done these two easier examples.